afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. I am your host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is the closing bell for Thursday, May 5th, 2022. Happy Cinco de Mayo, as we're 2 days closer to the Kentucky Derby, and we're just 2 hours closer to Mr. Jeffrey Benson from Circa, as he will be gracing our studios to talk some shop, to talk what's going on in Vegas and what's to be expected on Saturday. They have got through the draft, March Madness. I didn't see any time they were closed, so they must have survived, but we get some good stories there. But first, some day baseball. Just when you thought the Cincinnati Reds were going to finally win, they take a nice quick 3-0 lead, and the Brew Crew said not so fast, as Mr. Green got lit up. I think I saw for 5 homers. 8-5 Brewers in the top of the 7th. The Rockies now at a 4-2 lead at home, top of the 3rd against the Nationals and the Red Sox. Listen, I admit when I'm wrong. I was on a national show with Anthony Pepe, and I laughed about Michael Walker. I laughed about Rich Hill. It's not the starting pitching. The starting pitching, as Scott will even tell you, has been elite for the Red Sox. And what happened last night just magnifies what's going on today. Okay? You taxed your bullpen last night. You couldn't close out in the 9th. You lose in the 10th. Rich Hill pitches his ass off today. Zeros, twice leadoff doubles they can't score. And Shotani is Shotani. And then, you give up 2, and next thing you know, it's 7. 7-0. Top of the 8th as the Angels have erupted again. That top of the lineup is just vicious. Touchdown and extra point now, 7-0 there. Got a bunch of games coming up soon. A couple hockey games to talk about. So let's bring them in. From the Palm Tree State himself, Mr. Scott E. Webb. Afternoon, Scott.
Hey, Jeff. So I'm a little worked up over this Reds game. And I can't remember if we talked about it on the show this morning or if it was something we said off the air in the back. But Cincinnati is not as bad as their record indicates. And that's a leadership issue. And that's a problem with the head coach, the manager. And you don't throw a kid. How old is this kid? Hunter Green. Where the hell is he? He's 22 years old, man. You don't put a kid out there for 2.2 innings. So two. What is that? 6. That's 6. That's 8 outs, right? 8 outs, and he gives up 5 home runs, and you leave him in the game. That's not going to work. If he's going to be and he is. I'm looking at roster resource. He is the number 1 prospect in their organization. He's in the big leagues. He throws 100 miles an hour, but he doesn't anymore. So there's already a problem with the kid. And then you leave him out there to get thrown to the wolves like this. I think that's poor. I think that's very bad. It's a bad look on Cincinnati. It's a bad look on the manager in Cincinnati. And then I'm just pulling it up, and I get it. You got a lot of injuries here. Joey Votto, right? Joey Votto's injured. Jonathan India is injured, and those are big time names. Donovan Solano, who they brought in a trade, he's injured. Jake Fraley, who they brought in a trade, he's injured. Tyler Naquin is injured. Nick Senzel injured. Well, what if those guys just decided, you know what, I'm not totally injured. I'm just sort of nicked up a little bit here and there or whatever. They decided they don't want to play for this manager. I'm telling you, there's a problem in Cincinnati, and it's not the team. It's the guy who's leading that team, and I think it's pathetic that nobody's going through that fact-finding mission to find out exactly what's going on. You don't have these kind of problems with good teams that are led well. Even Baltimore, who is a team that you would think is projection-wise is the team with the lowest number of wins, they get along just fine. They play together as a team. Their leader is leading them. And they're getting productivity out of pitchers you never heard of, and they're scoring. They're scoring with the Twins, who've won 10 out of 11 games or whatever it was. So I'm a little bit discouraged in what's going on in Cincinnati. I think it's more to do with the guy running the team than it is the team.
Well, I have to say this. I mean, there's sometimes, and you would know this obviously, where a manager goes to a pitcher and says, "Hey, I hate to say this to you, it doesn't matter. I gotta get 4 or 5 innings out of you just because I got nothing in the back end." Okay, that's one thing. This was a kid that came out game one and he set a record for 40 pitches over 100 miles an hour. And then the next game we saw, he was down a couple miles, now down a couple other miles. Now a team that after today will be 3-22. Now baseball is a game of streaks. Okay. I can tell you this, in the first 25 games, if you've only won 3 games, there is a problem. Okay, because baseball, listen, the best pitcher doesn't always win. We know that. The best team doesn't always win. And you find ways to win. But when teams quit 25 games into the season, yes, there is an absolute problem. And I think as this gets further along here, and they're the talk of the town, and it's a public story where in the first 40 games, they're 5-35. Remember the Tigers that year that they won it all? They started the year 35-5, and no one could catch them. Well, the same thing here. They're going to start 5-35, and I would assume that heads will roll by Memorial Day. Now, I'm not in the Cincinnati loop, but mentally for these kids, it's got to suck already.
Well, it depends on who's running the team and the leadership around the team and how that's being played out in the city and what the manager's doing. And this just me just visibly noticing things. I don't see any chat about them on Twitter. I don't see anything that's going on in MLB Network talking about this team at all. I don't see anything talking about the manager of the team. Nothing other than, they're the lowly Reds. Okay, well, at some point in time, you can't be the lowly team. You can't be the doormat of the league. And then you can't throw a guy who's 22 years old out there who obviously is having some difficulty because he's not throwing 100 miles an hour like he's supposed to. And he's not got the command and control that he's supposed to. And then you leave him out there. And I get it. Sometimes, you go, hey, take one for the team. You don't tell this kid to take one for the team. You go throw a veteran guy in there or some other has-been guy that I'm sure they're loaded with on this team. And you put him out there and you go, hey, look, you're the guy who's going to take one for the team today. Not my guy that I'm going to count on for later on that I got to get right because he's going to eventually be a number 2, number 3 kind of guy for me. I'm not going to sit him out here right now and let him get beat up. What other like Strasburg, right? When Strasburg came up and he threw all that gas and everything, those games that he pitched, I never once saw him be put into this kind of a spot when he was young.
Strasburg, when he came up, if the temperature wasn't 75 or higher, he wouldn't go more than 3 innings. I mean, I've never seen a kid more babied in my life than
I'm not saying to do that, but I am saying
that was kid gloves back then with Strasburg.
No, I get it. I 100% understand, but you can't do this to this kid. I mean, you can't.
No.
It's not every day you got a guy that throws 100 miles an hour out there for the length of time that he does. I get it. Guys throw 100 miles an hour all the time now, but not starting pitchers. You know what I mean? Starting pitchers, there's only a few, and he's the leader at the back of the few, and now he can't get to 100. And you do this to him, I don't like it.
Well, I'm just going to pile on here because I'm just rattling my brain off the top of the head. They've had elite arms there in the past, and they've either blown them out or traded them. I go back to Castillo right now. He's hurt. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I got Aroldis Chapman in the brain.
He was there.
Okay.
He started there. I mean, he was a starting pitcher that they made a closer, and then after he was a closer, they traded him to the Yankees.
Do you know the last pitcher off the top of my head that succeeded there? and you're going to laugh when I say this because if you pulled up the numbers, you're going to say I'm way off. But he is the fruitcake of all fruitcake and used to be a Red Sox.
Well, I will tell you that the last guy that I can remember that was successful there is the guy that went to the Giants and now is in the Tigers minor league organization, whatever that, or White Sox minor league organization. What the hell is it? The guy that turns his back and does all that weird ass shit.
I'm talking about Brunson Arroyo.
Well, Brunson Arroyo was great for the Reds.
Exact. That's my point.
I mean, he was great for the Reds. I mean, this Tyler Mahle guy can be really good for the Reds. He's got good stuff. He's unfortunately misaligned in the rotation, but that's because Castillo's not there. And, I'm not sure exactly what the deal is with Castillo. I thought he was supposed to be back by now. Where's his
He's
number?
seeing what's going on. He's like, hell no.
I don't blame the guy, for Jesus Christ. I mean, it's shoulder soreness is what he's out with, and he hasn't pitched yet this year. And then you have Justin Dunn, and you know what? Nick Lodelo, right? You saw him. I mean, we talked about him. He's one of their prospects. He's on the sidelines right now. They signed Mike Minor, right? I mean, they brought Mike Minor in, and he hasn't pitched yet because he has shoulder soreness too. What the hell? I mean, I get it. Shoulder soreness can be a lot of complicated things, but I just sit here and there's something going on in Cincinnati that's way deeper than what's going on here, because it's a leadership problem. They got an issue and they need to fix it.
No, I agree.
And it makes me mad because those guys are out there. They're good players. They're good kids. They can be ruined by this. They can be ruined.
100% agree. I think as this goes on further, we'll start to hear a lot more of that. If I get Craig back on, Craig Mish, I will absolutely ask him that. What's the word on the street? I mean, other than, gambling Twitter, everyone's just betting against the Reds minus the 1.5, and they're going to the bank. And it's kind of comical at this point. On the breakfast bankroll this morning, I talked about the eye test. The ECSI VIPs got their alert out early today because I wanted to stay ahead of the market. I thought the games that we were talking about and I was eyeing was going to be some movement, and I'm looking at it, and the market's been kind of quiet since the show this morning. There hasn't been anything that has been like mind-blowing. San Fran did announce Lavora, which I'll talk to you about. Mikolas has been pitching okay for St. Louis, coming off a tough series. Now they come to San Fran. San Fran coming off a tough series, so that will be the late night game tonight. Luzardo versus Martinez. Money still coming in on Miami, which I thought would happen. Mets and Phillies. Nola climbing now up to as high as 151 at South Point, which I thought would happen. Some money coming in on Savali and Cleveland. We've talked about Berrios in the past. Which Berrios are you going to get? Toronto coming off of a tough series against the Yanks. Minnesota, Baltimore, Archer versus Watkins. We have talked at length about Watkins. We faded Archer at Tampa last time in that game, and we did pretty well there. Skubal versus Quiddy. Some money tiptoeing in on Detroit. You had talked about Skubal there. And Tampa and Seattle. McClanahan versus Ray. Money keeps coming in on Tampa. Scotty, the board is yours.
Well, just revisiting our show this morning, I talked about a prop bet with strikeouts, and said, hey, you should play the Milwaukee pitcher Hauser today at plus money. It was what was the number? It was 4.5, and he got to 6. So that's a winner today, plus 120 on the strikeouts over 4.5. So that's a good news.
Scotty, do you have the props in front of you? What was it for Shohei?
I can get it. I have it on my other sheet right here. Shohei, his number was under 6.5 was a minus 155. So if you went over 6.5, it'd probably be like minus 115 or something. And I can tell you how they did.
He blew by it. I think he had 11.
Bam. Let's see. Where's he at? Shohei had too far. Yeah, 11. So well over the number. So that's another plus money winner for strikeouts if you wanted to go that route. The big thing with him and a big thing with a lot of these pitchers, especially the way my algorithm works, is they have to make the innings. If they can make the innings, they'll you can figure out whether the team they're lining up against with is going to get the strikeouts or not.
And I'm going to just pile on a tad here. I bet you, and you don't have to pull the numbers up because we don't have enough data yet. Maybe this will be your homework assignment. Last year, I would like to know Shohei's numbers in day games versus night games because the guy throws absolute gas. And when his slider was working like it was today, he's almost unhittable.
Well, I mean, it's like I said. So we talked about on the Discord channel that one time. We talked about these guys, and we talked about whether or not that home and away splits and stuff like that, and that he was having some issues, obviously, with his away games, and I just tend to not think that's a huge ordeal, and when it is a big deal, the truth comes that these guys are in a position where they run into let me see how to get to Shohei here. It's all this batting stuff. I'll get to it later because I can get that number for you pretty quick. Here we go. Come on, man. Shohei Ohtani splits for last year, or not this year. Last year, day games and night games. So that is night games. Let's see if we can do it this way. So that's all this offense stuff. Man, where's this pitching? I'll get it instead of wasting the time on here. But anyway, I think that it's more important to look at the offense or the daytime and nighttime because it makes more sense because of the way the pitchers see the ball or the hitters see the ball out of the pitcher's hand. Some guys just can't pitch at night and some guys can't pitch during the day, and it's just because of the way the vision the batter has to see the ball.
Well, yeah, obviously the daytime with the sun and the shadows and stuff, that's why someone with his stuff I think would absolutely have plus side during the day versus I'm not saying he can't pitch at night. And I was not one of the guys that said he couldn't pitch on the road either. He just some pitchers, just thrive, especially in those 4 o'clock starts when the sun starts going down and the shadows over the home plate.
Well, I can tell you versus hitters last year, he didn't pitch during the day, but a couple times. He only had 40. He only had now see that's his offense again. It has to be. I'll have to get it because Shohei Ohtani is the weirdest guy to look up numbers for because when you look him up, they want to go right to his offense. And I'm like on his pitching shit. I don't want his him batting. And then you got to figure out how to work through all that stuff and whatever it is, what it is. I'll get it, but it's not right where I want it to be right this second. How about that?
It never is, my friend. It never is.
Yeah, it's awful. So anyway, let's I guess move on to these games. Now, I talked a lot about some of these games. I talked about Minnesota, Baltimore. I like that game to go over 8, and I think it's 8.5 now. And I'm not gonna go follow that trend there. I'm just gonna leave it alone at that number right there, and I'm not gonna play that. The other one was Toronto, Cleveland. I talked about that game. I like it to go over the number, but I'm gonna stay off of it just in case Barrios has one of those days where he's like, "Oh, I'm the greatest guy in the world, guys." Because he can do that to you and make you look pretty crappy. So what I did do, I don't know if that's really the right way to say that. What I did play instead of did do, what I did go with was I still like that New York Philadelphia number. and it's interesting to me how it looks out there on Wager Talk, because you can get what is, I think DraftKings is 8.5, right, and everybody else is 8. Is that what it shows on the total?
Yeah, I mean, everyone's got 8 over 25 cents, and DraftKings just said, you know what, we'll eat the juice and we'll give you 8.5 either which way.
Well, I like it that way. Give me the 8.5 and go under. I'm not, because I don't want to play the over. I want to play the under. So the reasoning behind this, just so that we can get this out. Number one, Taiwan Walker has pitched 2 games. He's pitched 7 innings, and they're all against the Phillies. And again, he's got the Phillies again today. So he's going to be the Phillies, Mets number 1 guy, I guess. I don't know. His numbers are really good, but he's a ground ball pitcher. And where the Phillies have been successful is with their power. And if you're a ground ball pitcher and you're going to go against power, a lot of times you're going to get a lot of hard contact, but it's going to be on the ground. So I like the idea that the home run stuff is kind of negated. That's not to say that they're not going to have success, because, the more you see a guy, the better off you're going to be against him. And then secondly, you've got Nola, who I think is he's pitching pretty well. His numbers, raw numbers don't indicate, team wins. I think he's 2-2 or whatever. And I think both losses have come against the Mets for that fact. But he's a good pitcher, and he got beat up by the Mets once. But the Mets aren't really out there crushing the ball right now. They're not the number 1 offense in baseball by any stretch. So I like the idea that this game matches up for pitchers to control offense. And if I were going to have a lean on the side, I think this is a good spot for Philadelphia, because they got the better pitcher, and the scenario of facing the same pitcher for the 3rd time is even better. But it'll be the 2nd time that the Mets have seen Nola now. But I do like the idea that this game can stay under. And if you can get that 8.5 under, I mean, that's great. It takes 9 to beat you. So I kind of like that play. So I'm going there, and then I'm going to go with that Detroit and Scooble game, but I'm not going to play on Detroit. I don't trust their offense. Their offense has been really bad, and Urquidy's been really bad. So he's due for a pretty good game, and this is kind of a bounce back spot for Scooble too, because he threw a game score 39 the last time out. So I expect him to be pretty good today, and I expect this to be a lower scoring game. So I'm going to play that game under. Then the actual number was, and I got this off Bookmaker because that's the only place I can play these days, is 8 under 8 minus 103 is the number that I got. Is that kind of where everybody's at?
Actually, it's now juiced over 20. So if you're going under, you're probably going to get it around 10 or 5 cents right now. So you're in the ballpark.
All right. So I just want to make sure that I'm not giving out something that people can't get. So I did Scooble at under 8, 103. And then I went ahead and I played our games that we talked about earlier today. I played McClanahan minus 125, and I played Luzardo. Now, if you weren't with us earlier and you didn't play him, you needed to play him early and not get beat up on the steam, because this morning you could have got him at plus money. And now when you get him, you're at minus, most probably is minus 110. But I wouldn't go much higher than that, because I don't really like the idea that this line flipped and I'm playing on a guy that's that way. But what I'll tell you is his xFIP Sierra number is 2.69, 2.87, and Martinez is 4.6, 4.7. So he's got a 2-run edge there. And when it comes to strikeouts, he's got 12.39 strikeouts per 9 innings. So he's striking everybody out. And San Diego is not a team that doesn't strike out. Plus, they got 2 hitters you got to only be worried about. 2. That's it. The whole lineup, 2 guys. And that's Machado and Hosmer right now. So I think he can control Hosmer. So that means he's got to avoid one guy. If he can avoid one guy today, Miami's got a chance here because Martinez is hittable. His batting average against 284, whip rate 168, And this is the stat I love that you want to be contrarian on. His left on base percentage, Jeff, 92.6%. That's not sustainable. You're not going to keep 92.6% of the guys that you get on base to stay on base. So it's time for regression, and give me Miami and all that regression there. So I like that one, and I do like McClanahan. You know what's great about McClanahan? Left on base percentage 66%. This guy can't keep him from scoring. Well, guess what he's going to end up doing? He's going to have one of those games where for whatever reason nobody can score and nobody can get on base, nobody can do anything. He is green across the board in most things except for that number, which is a contrarian number, so you can flip it. And he is a unique beast. He throws real hard, 96, 97 mile an hour, and is a 56% ground ball guy. Most guys that throw that hard are fly ball pitchers, like Luzardo. He only gets 35% ground balls, but that's just because of the nature of how he throws and the velocity he throws with. And then you look at McClanahan, he throws that hard and gets ground balls. So I like that a lot. You know, Robbie Ray throws hard, 37% ground balls. So damaging blows are fly balls. And I like the idea that Tampa Bay can take advantage of that. And they've taken advantage of Robbie Ray before. Got to remember, Robbie Ray was with Tampa Bay, or not Tampa Bay, Toronto. So last year he's the last couple. Well, I think it was just last year, maybe 2 years. He was all in the American League East. So Tampa Bay's seen him millions of times. So I like the idea here that there's a little more familiarity for the Tampa Bay side too. So give me McClanahan, give me Luzardo, and give me New York Mets and under, and take Detroit and Houston under. Those are the plays.
And staying in the McClanahan versus Ray, Tampa and Seattle, Jeffrey Benson, as we speak, has moved the total down to 6.5 over 20 cents, and Caesars and WinBet also have 6.5 over. So they're expecting a nail biter there. For us, I've talked about these games at length. Our VIPs have them safely in their hands, and I hope that they have bought early. Again, we talked about the Phillies. I don't trust their back end. The Mets are 5-1 versus them. I do have an advantage with Nola over Walker. The problem is I'm not going to give up 40 or 50 cents straight up. So if you were to get into that game, you have to obviously give up the half run there and hope that the Phillies are up by one or more in the fifth. Talked about Luzardo. That there was, I didn't see it anywhere, but Wager Talk is showing a 140 number. Martinez. The only way that the Padres would be favored minus 140 over Luzardo today is if someone other than Martinez was pitching, which they're lined up pretty good for the next 3 games. So that's going to be a hell of a series this weekend there. But I do like Luzardo here. Full game here. I think they get it done there. And lastly, we talked about McClanahan there. We talked early this morning before it's 127, 128. It's actually 130 at DraftKings. Some hockey tonight. Really tough spots to go into. You'd have to get creative if you were taking the favorites. The Rangers have been steamed up to 160 and 170. I'm not buying the steam. So it's a must game for the Rangers. Obviously, if you were to get in there, obviously, good luck. You'd have to do regulation or a puck line. Way too much steam and chalk to be eaten there. Washington and Florida, since this morning now, Florida's gotten a lot of late action there. So if you want to get creative and like the Rangers, you could maybe even parlay the Rangers with the Florida just straight up to win there. Colorado minus 360. Listen, they just bum rushed Nashville. Do I expect Colorado to win? Yeah, but do I expect them to score 7, 8, 9 goals today? No, I don't. But I can't get in there. And then Calgary, Dallas opened up at 235, now 230, a 5.5. Look for a close game there, like the first game there. But tough games all across the board in the NHL. We've been talking about the MLB at length. So, Scotty, closing thoughts.
I got your numbers for you for Ohtani.
Okay.
So last year he threw 23 games, only 3-day games versus 20 night games. Batting average against at night 208. Batting average against during the day 203. So not significant difference there. So I think that when you throw as hard as he does, some of that stuff I'll pull up his career number instead of just last year's number and see if that has any effect career, because that can change, especially. Let's go see where he's at. Here we go. So he's thrown 29 games at night and 10 games during the day. Record-wise, he's 11-6 at night. In daytime, he's 4-1. But batting average against during the day, 186 lifetime. Batting average at night, 217, which is and if people were with us yesterday, I talked about a number called SOPS and TOPS. TOPS is where you're comparing that OPS plus number to the league average as opposed to players. At night, he is 107. That means he's 7% worse than average. And during the day, he's 83. That means he's 17% better. So he is a better pitcher during the daytime than he is at night for his career. Obviously, he's only pitching 1/3 of the games that he's ever started during the daytime. So it's definitely worth tracking, especially considering how poor he has been on the road. And he's got 2 really good road starts now. This one, and he started that one against Houston when he was really good. So again, these things come into conflict a lot when it comes to numbers, and then how do you use them and how to use them appropriately is a big term. So anyway, final thoughts for me is I'm looking forward to the obviously the change of schedules. I thought it was weird that the Dodgers and the Giants only played 2 games. I don't remember like Yankees and Red Sox having 2-game series. They're either 3 or 4 all the time. What the hell is this 2-game series shit? So that was a little bit interesting to me. The Dodgers now go play in Chicago. They play the Cubs. So I think that's probably good news for the Dodgers. But in good light for the Reds, they get to play Pittsburgh. So maybe they have a chance to win a couple of these games coming up. And I think it's kind of interesting how some of this stuff just plays out. We'll see how good Milwaukee is. Milwaukee goes and plays Atlanta this weekend. So talking about some pretty good matchups, that should be pretty good. And then you might see a minus 300 tomorrow, by the way. Texas is going into New York to play the Yankees, and you have Mr. Glenn Otto starting for Texas against Mr. Garrett Cole. So I'm going to guess you're going to see a 300 tomorrow. And how about this pitching matchup tomorrow? Kevin Gausman and Shane Bieber. That's pretty good stuff right there.
Condolences to anyone that bet the Red Sox Angels under. Here's a movement for you. Opened at 9, closed at 7.5. After 6, 0-0. Then the Rangers scored 2 in the 7th, 5 in the 8th, and of course they get 1 in the 9th. Final score: Angels 8, Red Sox nothing. Goes over the 7.5. That's one. Number 2, I saw something on Twitter and I almost fell off my stool. If I ever give out one of these, can you please just put me in an asylum? Someone bet yesterday, and of course it cashed. Milwaukee Brewers minus 160. Minus 160 wouldn't bat in the 9th inning. I mean, why don't you just say the prop market is just gotten out of control, guys. I mean, I know you want to get into certain games. I know you want to beat up on the Reds. And I get all that, okay? I don't even want to say hats off to whatever book it was, but someone on gambling Twitter posted they bet the Milwaukee Brewers minus 160 would not bat in the ninth inning. I've seen it all.
I talk about that stuff all the time, Jeff, and you do too. If you're gonna play props, and look, I'm okay with anybody playing props, but props are props. Get in good or don't get in at all. If you have to pay minus 160 to say, they're not gonna bat in the ninth inning, that's horrible. Unless you sit there and somehow have some kind of evaluation on that line that it should be minus 300 or something, and you can get it at minus 160, which is absurd. So I don't get some of that stuff, right? I mean, I see these guys putting stuff out all the time, and they tell you, okay, prop bets this and prop bets that. But if you're not getting your money in good on any of those kind of bets, just keep it in your pocket, because there's going to be tons of that stuff, and you can just pick up this and pick up that here and there and do a lot better than minus 160 on a prop bet.
I always bring up Giannis the Greek. He's at Wager Talk. He's on ESPN for a lot of the UFC stuff. And he talks about value. We talk about value is only value if you cash a ticket. Now, UFC and boxing is a lot different, where probability. Scott's always talking about probability. So in other words, if we got a fight and they play it back 100 times, and Scott's going to beat Jeff 89% of the times, and I can get Scott at minus 200, 250, 300, 350, 400. Well, there's extreme value because Scott's going to beat Jeff 93 out of 100 times. I get that part of it. I saw someone try to explain to Gambling Twitter yesterday that they had extreme value on the Avalanche game 1 minus 280. And, I think you can be a Monday morning quarterback when they win by 5 goals, 7-2. I think it was 3-0 in the first 5 minutes. So this person tried to claim to everyone that there was extreme value at minus 250 or whatever it was. And I think a lot of times people try to come across after the fact stating, and especially when you win by 5 goals in a playoff game, that the minus 250 doesn't scare you. Well, let me just tell everyone that wants to listen right now. You keep going to the window, betting minus 250s, 300s, 350s. Scott talked about Cole versus Otto tomorrow. I think you're short. I'm going to go on record that says Cole opens up minus 360 tomorrow and probably closes around 400. Why? It's Friday. It's payday. People aren't afraid of that number. There's no one in hell. Every ticket in Vegas will have Yankee run line, and everyone will have Yankees minus a half run first 5. And God, Yankees not to bat minus 200 in the ninth. But there's value there, guys. There's value. So, anyways, I've done enough venting for the day here. Thank all our listeners. Anyone that is not signed up and subscribed to our YouTube or Twitch channel, please do it at East Coast Sports Investors. Please set the alarm for 6 o'clock. In 1 hour and 19 minutes, Mr. Jeffrey Benson will bless us in the studios live from the Circa. We will have about 20 minutes to talk with Jeffrey. We're hoping that we can make this some kind of tradition here, but that's a ways away, but we'll get to that. Tonight, a lot of baseball, hockey on tap as well. NBA dark till tomorrow. So for myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, from Scotty Webb at Webby20 MLB, we wish everyone a blessed afternoon and evening. Have some fun with these games and tickets. Cash some. And remember, tomorrow is payday for the public. Fade the public Friday is just 24 hours away. See you soon.